Okay, everyone, welcome to another edition of Thunderdome. It is 6.2 quiz. Let go! Today we're going to talk about the U.S. Supreme Court, the highest court in all of the land. Supreme Court, again, nation's top court. The main job, decide whether laws are allowable under the Constitution. Are laws constitutional or not? That's something that you'll see in question number 1. But you also have to look at how many justices there are. So there's 9 justices, and there'll be 8 associate justices, and then 1 chief justice. They're appointed by the president. They serve lifelong terms, and this is one of those things where a president's power to appoint judges lasts longer than the president's term itself. So Donald Trump will be felt greatly for a long time because he appointed 3. Okay? So his viewpoints are going to be out there for that. Senate approval, and they're always lawyers, okay? So, main job, decide whether or not laws are allowable under the Constitution, and there are 9 total justices. All right. So, jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Original jurisdiction we've already gone over. That means it has the right to hear the case for the first time. So, original jurisdiction happens for 2 instances for the Supreme Court. Cases involving diplomats and foreign governments, meaning that it's somebody who has been either over in a different country or whatever, or that country themselves, or disputes between states. Supreme Court has the ability to hear those cases for the first time. Now, they have appellate jurisdiction otherwise. Appellate jurisdiction is to hear a case on appeal. That means it came from a lower court and it now has reached the Supreme Court. This is what usually happens in the Supreme Court. So the court chooses the cases it wants to hear. So in cases the court refuses to hear, the decision of the lower court stands. The Supreme Court says, you know what, we're not even going to touch that thing. That means that whatever happened before, that is the decision that stands. The Supreme Court has final authority on cases involving the Constitution, acts of Congress, and treaties, all dealing with the federal government right there. Legislative and executive branches must follow Supreme Court rulings. So, it says here, in most cases, the Supreme Court has appellate jurisdiction. However, if it is a case involving diplomats, foreign governments, or disputes between states, it can also have original jurisdiction over cases. That is true. All right, question number 3. Oh, there's a Supreme Court caseload. So you can see that it's gone up over the years. Number of cases appealed, so that's the number of cases they get to choose from. And then signed opinions. How many cases they actually make decisions on? Not that many. In the year 2000, they only made 87 decisions out of 8,965. Sorry, can you hear me now? I hope you can. Okay, so. Powers of the court, judicial review. So judicial review, probably the most important thing that the Supreme Court does. It might be the most important thing that the judicial branch does, so all the courts. So it's power to review any law or government action to see if it goes against the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So this power does not come from the Constitution. It was actually decided in a court case in the early 1800s. So the court claimed the power when they decided the case Marbury versus Madison. So judicial review was established through a court case. So, what is judicial review? The power to review any law or government action to see if it goes against the Constitution. All right, powers of the court. So in the court's opinion, Chief Justice John Marshall set forth 3 principles of judicial review. This is that court case, Marbury versus Madison. Number 1, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, meaning it's the highest law of the land. Nothing can go against it, not even state constitutions. So number 2, if a law conflicts with the Constitution rules. So this kind of goes to that, there's a good example here. You know, a lot of our nation can recreationally and medically use marijuana. Those are all state laws. Marijuana is still illegal under the federal law, under the Constitution, meaning that if they really wanted to, federal officers could go into California right now and raid every single dispensary and take every single ounce of marijuana. Do they do it? No. Could they do it? Yes. So number 2, you know, right there, if a law conflicts with the Constitution rules. Number 3, the judicial branch has a duty to uphold the Constitution. That's their sole duty. That's the only law that they know, the Constitution. Thus, it must be able to determine when a law conflicts with the Constitution and nullify, cancel, or void that law. So, the power of judicial review serves as a check on the actions of the other 2 branches. Again, you know, so question number 4 here in Marbury versus Madison, the court's opinion set forth 3 principles of judicial review, which is not one of those principles. To be the moral guidance for the United States. Has nothing to do with morals. Has everything to do with whether or not it's against the Constitution or not. Okay. Limits on the court's power, checks and balances. So the court depends on the executive branch to enforce its decisions. Usually they do. So again, the legislative branch creates laws, the executive branch enforces those laws, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, they interpret the laws to make sure that they're not going against what we as Americans have set forth. So Congress can get around a court ruling by passing a new law, changing a law ruled unconstitutional, or amending the Constitution. There are ways to get around what the Supreme Court decides. The President's power to appoint justices and Congress's power to approve appointments and to impeach, and remove justices all serves as checks and balances. That way that no one branch can get powerful enough to overthrow the entire government. So, let's look at the rule of 4. How cases reach the court. So usually it's on appeal from a lower court, most by request for a writ of certiorari. Such a hard word to say. But it means to make more certain. It takes 4 of the 9 justices to agree to see or hear a court case. 4 of 9. Does that make sense? Is that a majority? No. But that's what it is. It's the rule of 4. Only 4 of 9 have to do it. So, not 5, not 6, not 3. It's 4. They usually select cases that involve important constitutional or legal issues and cases that affect the entire nation rather than political issues. That's smart by them. Accepted cases go on the docket, and the docket is just another term for a calendar in the court system. Question number 6. 5 steps to decision making in the courts. So you have written arguments, oral arguments, conference, opinion writing, and announcements. So the written argument, lawyers prepare a written brief, they explain their side, and then the justices get to read those documents. Then you have this thing called the oral arguments. Each side gets 30 minutes to present its case orally, verbally. Okay? Justices ask tough questions in response to this. Then they have conference. So on Fridays, justices meet privately to discuss the cases. A majority vote decides the case, so 5 out of 9 votes. Then they write the opinion. So after the court reaches a decision, justices write opinions, state the facts, announce the ruling, explains the court's reasoning in reaching the decision. Now there's a couple different versions of opinions that we'll have. We have a majority opinion where one justice writes basically an opinion that says this is why we've decided this, but it presents the views of the majority of the justices, which is going to be 5, 6, 7, or 8. Concurring opinion. A justice who agrees with the majority opinion, but for different reasons. That could be written and given out to somebody. It's like, ooh, you know what? I believe that this law is constitutional, but not for the same reason as these other justices. And they give that opinion. And then dissenting opinion, justices who oppose the majority decision, they're like, okay, I don't agree with this at all, and this is why, and I want to give that to you as well. And then there's the unanimous opinion, where all justices vote the same way, and one opinion is written because all of the justices believe in the truth and that, okay, we've made the right decision that this is constitutional or not. So, unanimous opinion is written when all justices vote the same way. All right, and then finally you have an announcement. The court announces its decisions. Opinions are usually published. This is used by the Supreme Court and other courts to guide new decisions, and those are called precedents. Question number 8 here, reasons for decisions. It sets a precedent, and that's huge for future decisions. So the law basically says, okay, it's a foundation for deciding cases. They follow the principle of stare decisis, let the decision stand. So by following precedents, aka rulings made by the court before them, the law becomes a little bit more clear. Okay? By following precedents, courts make the law predictable and consistent. So they clarify the meaning of the Constitution. Justices consider how the language of the Constitution applies to the case. At the same time, the law must be flexible to adapt to changing times. The justices can overrule outdated precedents. Like I said, one of the most famous situations here is the death penalty. In 1974, they said, no more death penalty, that's unconstitutional. And then 2 years later, in 1976, they said, death penalty's back. All right, the last thing here, reasons for decisions. Social conditions, right? When social conditions change, the court may make new interpretations of the law. Example, Plessy versus Ferguson, that says this, separate is equal, and then Brown versus Board of Education says separate is not equal. All right, those two things, 60 years apart. All right, and society changed greatly between those two moments. So their personal views and relationships influence their decisions, so the way they see things. And that's why presidents pick certain justices, because they follow the same viewpoints, which would be like, Donald Trump's not going to pick a liberal, left-leaning person to be on the Supreme Court. He'll always pick right-leaning people, conservatives. Okay? All right, that's it. Hit me with that theme song and let's get out of here.